Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual edition of Mishnah Berurah here. We are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Hey. We pick up today on the top of Kuf Lamed Vav Amid Beis. We're holding in Siman Taf Kuf Tes Vav. We're continuing to learn Sif Aleph. I think today's share is going to be a little bit on the abbreviated side. I would have liked to do 2 pages today, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I just didn't have time to really prepare the 2 pages. So even though it's going to be a somewhat short share, we're going to stick to 1 page for today. But hopefully, as the days go by, we will catch up. So, if you remember, yesterday on Kuf Lamed Vav Amid Aleph, the Mechaber had said, if a non-Jew brings either produce that he picked or an animal that he trapped, if he brings it to you on the first day of Shnei Yomim Tovim Shel Galuyos, so then we had a machlokes, the Mechaber and the Ramah. The Mechaber said, if it's brought on the first day, so it's usher on that day, and of course we gave several different reasons why it's usher. One is because the non-Jew did prohibited malacha on your behalf, and you can't have any benefit from that forbidden malacha. Another reason is that whatever he's bringing to you, if it's something that was mechusar tzeda, if it was an animal that had to be trapped, or if it was produce that had to be picked, if it wasn't picked or trapped before Yom Tov, then it's muktzah, so that's another problem. But in any case, the Mechaber said, if he brings it to you on Yom Tov Rishon, it's Aser on Yom Tov Rishon, and it continues to be Aser until Bichdei Sheyaseh on Matzah Yom Tov Rishon. So Matzah Yom Tov Rishon, you have to wait for enough time that the non-Jew could have done the malacha that he did and brought you the produce of the animal, and then it becomes mutter, even though it's now Yom Tov Sheni. It doesn't matter. The Isser was for Yom Tov Rishon. The Yisr was not for Yom Tov Sheni, and we explained this because Mimanav Shach. Since we have 2 days Yom Tov because of Sveika Diyoma, so Mimanav Shach. If the first day of Yom Tov was the real day of Yom Tov, so all right, now it's the second day of Yom Tov. This is really Chol. And since we're here on the second day of Yom Tov, it's certainly already after Chdei Sheyaseh. Excuse me. It's already after the time period of Ad B'Kdei Sheyaseh. And now it's mutter on Yom Tov Sheni. That was the opinion of the Mechaber. The Ramah took issue with that, and the Ramah on Kuf Lamed Vav Amid Aleph said, Yesh Machmirin, there are those shitas that are Machmir, and they hold that this produce or this behema that was Mechusar Tzeda that was brought by the non-Jew is Aser even on Yom Tov Sheni. So the non-Jew brought it to you on Yom Tov Rishon. It continues to be Aser through the end of Yom Tov Sheni until after the period of Bichdei Sheyaseh on Matzah Yom Tov Sheni. And the Mishnah Berurah told us that the reason for this is, and this was yesterday in Ois Cotton Yud Beis, the Mishnah Berurah said the problem of it was in Ois Cotton Tes. He said that the reason is because if we're going to be matir, whatever the non-Jew brought on Yom Tov Sheni, we're afraid that another year, what a person will do is he will directly ask a non-Jew to go harvest something for him and bring it to him on Yom Tov Rishon. And I'll say, I won't eat it on Yom Tov Rishon because I know on Yom Tov Rishon it's Aser, but I'll wait till Yom Tov Sheni and I'll eat it on Yom Tov Sheni. And in that case, of course it would be Aser. So it's kind of Xera. It's Aser on Yom Tov Sheni up to Yom Tov Rishon. Okay, now we go to the top of Kuf Lamed Vav Amid Beis, and the Mechaber says, V'chein, similarly, Imhuva b'Yom Tov Sheni. Let's say the non-Jew brought this produce or this animal on Yom Tov Sheni. Tzarich lahamtin b'motzei Yom Tov b'chdei sheyasu. So it's Aser by b'yom. On Yom Tov Sheni, of course, whatever the non-Jew brought is Aser. But after the time period of Kidei Sheyasu on Matzah Yom Tov Sheni, it becomes mutter. Explains the Mishnah Berurah, V'chein Imhuva b'Yom Tov Sheni, u'bazeh ein chilik l'kulei alma. Over here, you don't have yesterday's machlokes of the Mechaber and the Ramah. U'bazeh ein chilik l'kulei alma bein hu la'acherim. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter from the perspective of the person who the non-Jew brought it for, or anybody else. Kevan shehuva b'yom zeh. If the non-Jew brings something on Yom Tov Sheni, then everybody agrees that for that day, the item that the non-Jew brought is Aser, And not only is it also for the person that he brought it for, it's also for everybody. Nobody's allowed to use that item that the non-Jew brought on Yom Tov Sheni. Yesterday's machlokes only pertained to when a non-Jew brought something on Yom Tov Rishon. The Mechaber held it's only also on Yom Tov Rishon. It becomes mutter matzah Yom Tov Rishon after Kedei Sheyasu, and the Ramah held it's even also on Yom Tov Sheni for the person that it was brought for. But if the non-Jew brings it on Yom Tov Sheni, it's also on Yom Tov Sheni, and it's also through Matzah Yom Tov Sheni, and through the time period of Kedei Sheyasu, for everybody, whether for the person who it was brought for or others. It doesn't matter. It was brought by B'yom. It was brought on that day, so it's usher. Achein, however, the Chavetz Chaim does point out, let's say the non-Jew brings this item. He brings you a nice bag of apples on the night going into Yom Tov Sheni, but he brings it all the way at the beginning of Yom Tov Sheni. So he brings it, mamish, tzeis hakachavim, of Yom Tov Sheni. That's when he brings you the apples. De'ein panai lotzod hayoim. Certainly, he didn't have time to pick those apples, or if he brought you a chicken, he didn't have time to trap that animal. He had no time to trap it on Yom Tov Sheni. If he brought it at the beginning of Yom Tov Sheni, then certainly whatever malacha he did on Yom Tov Rishon. So that goes back to yesterday's halacha. In that case, certainly, whatever he brought was either picked or trapped on Yom Tov Rishon. Then yesh lo din hevi b'Yom Tov Rishon. Then it goes back to yesterday's machlokes, and the machlokes of the Mechaber and the Ramah kicks in. According to the Mechaber, it's mutter on Yom Tov Sheni, because the malacha that the non-Jew did, he did on Yom Tov Rishon. So now, memanav shach. If now Yom Tov Sheni is chayil, so it's chayil. What's the problem? It's already after the Zman of Kedei Sheyasu, so now it's chayil. I could have enough from the malacha that the non-Jew did yesterday. Muktzah, there's no problem of muktzah. If today is really chayil, there's no problem of muktzah. If today Yom Tov Sheni is kadosh, so then yesterday was chayil. So then when the non-Jew did the malacha yesterday, he did it on a day of chayil. What's the problem? I could get hana from malacha that a non-Jew did on a regular weekday. And muktzah, why was it muktzah? He picked it yesterday, so that means Ben Hashmashos going into Yom Tov Sheni. It was already harvested. It was already picked. It was already trapped. So there's no muktzah. So then it wouldn't be a person. There you have would be the sheet of the Mechaber, and the Ramah would hold that it's still aser on Yom Tov Sheni for the person that it was brought for. Why is it aser? Because if we're going to make it mutter on Yom Tov Sheni, then next year he might ask the guy to do it for him on Yom Tov Rishon, so that he should have it for Yom Tov Sheni. Continues the Chavetz Chaim. This same concept applies if the non-Jew brings these items at the beginning of the first night of Yom Tov. If he brings you apples all the way at the beginning of Yom Tov Rishon, right? So your wife just lit, and now the guy knocks on the door and he gives you apples. Those apples weren't picked on Yom Tov. Those apples were picked before Yom Tov. And therefore, so if they came from within the tchum, then shari, they're mutter. If they came from out of the tchum, we'll see later there's a potential problem, because if he brought them at the beginning of Yom Tov, but they came from out of the tchum, so that means that they arrived in your house from out of the tchum on Yom Tov. That would be a problem. Okay, says the Mechaber weiter near the end of the top line. Aval, however, Bishnei Yomim Tovim Mishal Rosh Hashanah, if we're dealing with the 2 days Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah, remember we've said many times that the 2 days Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah are Yuma Arichta, they're Kedusha Arichta. It's all considered one long day of Yom Tov, because the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are considered Vadai. That's not Sveika D'Yoma. That's Minig Aviseinu B'Yadenu. We know that they always made 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. So that's not Misafik. So it's called a Kedusha Arichta. Over there, we can't say Mimanav Shach. We can't say if yesterday was really Kaddish, today is really Chayil. If today is really Kaddish, yesterday was really Chayil. That doesn't apply in the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Ay b'Yom Tov asamach l'Shabbos. Or let's say we're dealing with a case where Yom Tov comes either right before or right after Shabbos. Bein milufanav, whether Shabbos is Shabbos and Sunday is Yom Tov, or Bein Me'achrav, or Friday was Yom Tov, and Shabbos comes right after the day of Yom Tov, where again, you don't have a Sveika D'Yoma, both of those days are 100% Kadosh. So again, we can't say Mimanav Shach. So then, Im Huva Barishain, Tzarech Lahamten Ad Matzah Yom Tov V'Shabbos, B'chtei Sheyeyasu. Then, if the non-Jew brought it on the first day, so if Yom Tov was Sunday and the non-Jew brought the apples on Shabbos, now we're not going to say the Shita of the Mechaber that since the non-Jew brought them on Yom Tov Rishon, they become mutter on Yom Tov Sheni after the time of Kadesh Yeyasu. No, you only say that when you could say Mimanav Shach. You say that by the 2 days Yom Tov of Goliath when you could say Mimanav Shach. But if we're dealing with the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, or we're dealing with Shabbos and Sunday, or Friday and Shabbos being Yom Tov and Shabbos, then we can't say Mimanav Shach. Both days are certainly Kadosh. So then you have to wait until after the second day, after the time period of Kadesh Yeyasu. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Katan Tezvav, Avo B'Shtei Yomim Shel Rosh Hashanah, when we're dealing with the 2 days Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah, D'Lo Shayich B'Hu Mimanav Shach, where you can't say Mimanav Shach, the Kedusha Achasi, because it's considered one long Kedusha, they're both considered Vadai, and we actually look at it to a certain extent as being one long day of Kedusha, Ukiyom Arichta Danya, so then it doesn't apply. Or or when you're talking about Yom Tov and Shabbos that fall out next to each other. So either Friday is Yom Tov and then you have Shabbos, or you have Shabbos and Sunday is Yom Tov. Then whatever the guy brought is also Ad Matzah Yom Tov Shabbos until after the second day. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Shir Zeh. This shear, this amount of time that the item is usher, when the Mechaber says over here that if you have Yom Tov and Shabbos next to each other and the non-Jew brings an item, he brings you the apples on the first day. So let's say Yom Tov was Friday, and then comes Shabbos. So the non-Jew brought you the apples on Erev Shabbos, that's Yom Tov. So the Mechaber said in that case, you have to wait. You can't use those apples until after Kadesh Yeyasu on Motzei Shabbos. Even though the Mechaber holds by 2 days of Yom Tov, by Shtei Yom Tovim Shel Goliath, that if the non-Jew brings it on the first day, it becomes mutter Kadesh Yeyasu Motzei the first day. Not when Yom Tov and Shabbos are next to each other. If Friday is Yom Tov and the non-Jew brings the apples on Friday, you have to wait until after Kadesh Yeyasu on Motzei Shabbos. So Shir Zeh, this time of Isser that the Mechaber says that you have to wait until Motzei of the second day, Tzarech Lahamtin, you would have to wait for that amount of time. Af im nilkedu onitzaydu me'elehen. Not only do you have to wait for that amount of time if the non-Jew brought it on the first day, and you're worried that the non-Jew did forbidden malacha on the first day, not only in that case do you have to wait until Motzei the second day, you also have to wait till Motzei the second day if the produce was nilketu me'alein. Let's say the apples fell off the tree. Not that the guy went ahead and picked them. So nobody did forbidden malacha. The apples fell off the tree. Or let's say the animal that the non-Jew brought, it was nitzaid me'aleha. It got caught up in a thorn bush. The guy didn't go trap it. Nobody did the malacha of tzeda. So nobody did the malacha of harvesting. Nobody did the malacha of plucking the apple off the tree. Nobody did the malacha of tzeda. Still, you have to wait until Motzei of the second day. Why? The after shtei kedusha is saying, because even though we're talking here about two different levels of kedusha, we're talking about Yom Tov followed by Shabbos, or we're either talking about Yom Tov followed by Shabbos or Shabbos followed by Yom Tov. In either case, we're talking about two levels of Kedusha. We still have another problem. The problem is mishum hachana. Here we have a hachana problem. We don't have a malacha problem. Till now, we were dealing with a problem where a guy did meleches hisser. A guy did forbidden malacha on your behalf on Yom Tov or on Shabbos. So you can't get any benefit from that malacha. Let's say Shabbos was Shabbos and Sunday was Yom Tov. So if we're talking about a case where a non-Jew did malacha on Shabbos, so we understand why you have to wait until Matzah Yom Tov Sheni. We understand why you have to wait until Sunday night. The reason you have to wait until Sunday night is because you can't get any hana from the malacha that the non-Jew did on Shabbos. What's the difference that we're talking about two different levels of Kedusha? Very nice. He did the malacha on Shabbos, and now you're on Yom Tov. So what? You still can't be nene from the meleches Isser that the guy did. Even if he brought the apples on Shabbos and you're going to enjoy the apples on Sunday, you couldn't pick the apples on Sunday because it's Yom Tov. So you're being nene from the fact that the guy picked the apples on Shabbos. So until now, where we're talking about a case where a guy did meleches Isser for you, so we understand why you have to wait until Matzah the second day. The chiddush over here that the Mishnah Berurah is saying is even if the guy did not do prohibited malacha, what happened over here was you have apples that fell off the tree on Shabbos. You still have to wait to enjoy those apples until Matzah Yom Tov on Sunday night. Why? Because you have a hachana problem. What's the hachana problem? Kol zman, the apples were on the tree. They weren't roy lachila for you because you weren't able to pick them on Shabbos or on Yom Tov. The fact that it fell off the tree on Shabbos, that made it roy lachila. Oh, now you have a hachana problem. That means that Shabbos was meichin for Yom Tov. The fact that it fell off the tree on Shabbos is an act of hachana for Yom Tov. Shabbos can't be meichin for Yom Tov, and Yom Tov can't be meichin for Shabbos. So the Mishnah Berurah is telling you over here, even though in this case you don't have an issue of a guy doing meleches Isser on your behalf, you still have to wait until Matzah of the second day in this case because of a hachana issue. Since on the first day, whether the first day was Yom Tov of Erev Shabbos or the first day was Shabbos, the fact that the animal became trapped on its own, or the fact that the apples fell off the tree on their own, that's an act of hachana for the second day. And the truth is, we saw this concept earlier. This is like the halacha that we learned in Taf Kuf Yud Gimel, Sif Hey Gabe Beitza. We said over there the same halacha, a Beitza that's noilad on Shabbos, you can't go ahead and use it on Sunday if Sunday is Yom Tov. Why not? We know that when an egg is laid on Shabbos, that means it was nigmar on Friday inside the chicken. So what's the problem? This egg was completed inside the hen on Erev Shabbos. Now it's Yom Tov on Sunday. So Erev Shabbos is allowed to be meichin for Sunday. Why can't I use it? The problem is, the reason you can't use it is because kol zman it was inside the hen. It wasn't an egg that was royal achila. It was inside a live hen. You couldn't use it. So the fact that the egg was actually laid on Shabbos is an act of hachana. And then you have Shabbos being meichin for Yom Tov on Sunday, which is aser. Now, the Mishnah Berurah does point out that there is, though, one significant difference between this case where nobody did meleches Isser to the case where the guy did meleches Isser. Achein, bazeh, in this case, where the apple just fell off the tree or the animal became trapped by itself, then b'motzai Shabbos, then on Motzai Shabbos, assuming that Yom Tov was Friday, so the apples fell off the tree on Friday, or the animal became trapped on Friday, so you have to wait until Motzai Shabbos, but mutter miyad, it's mutter immediately Motzai Shabbos. Here, you don't have to wait until after the time of Kedei Sheyaseh. Why? Because when a guy did prohibited malacha for you, you have to wait until after Kedei Sheyaseh, so that you shouldn't be getting hana from the forbidden malacha that the guy did. So I can't get hana from the fact that the guy picked the apples off the tree. So Matzah Yom Tov, I have to wait enough time that the guy could have gone and picked the apples now and brought it to me now. So now I'm not getting hana from the fact that he did it on Shabbos or that he did it on Yom Tov. He could have done it now. But in our case here that the Mishnah Berurah is discussing, where the apples fell off the tree by themselves, so yes, the apples are usher until Motzei Shabbos or Motzei Yom Tov of whichever day is second. Yes, they're usher, but you don't have to wait because it's not usher because of forbidden malacha. If you don't wait until Kadesh Yasu and you eat the paris right away, so then you're getting hana from the malacha that the guy did on Yom Tov. Okay, now we continue with the words of the Mechaber, 2 lines from the bottom in the middle, right by the ice cut and Yud test for the Mishnah Berurah. What exactly is this shear? What exactly is this time measurement of Kedei Sheyasu? How long is that? Says the Mechaber, the shear Kedei Sheyasu, the amount of time of Kedei Sheyasu, Hainu, is Kedei Sheyelech Ha'ena Yehudi La'makam Shaliket. Let's say you know that the non-Jew went ahead and harvested those apples in a farm that's 5 miles away from your house. So then, on Matzah Yom Tov, how long do you have to wait before you can eat those apples? You have to wait enough time that the Eina Yehudi could theoretically travel those 5 miles, v'yigmar hamalacha, and complete the malacha that he has to do. So he has to go pick those apples, v'yachzor lakan, and come back to your house. So if you figure it's going to take him 10 minutes to travel the 5 miles, it's going to take him another 10 minutes to get out to the field and pick the fruit. It's going to take him another 10 minutes to get back to your house. So that's a half hour. So you have to wait a half hour after ice. Let's say you don't know where he brought it from. So then shiuran kadesha yavayu michutz l'tchum. Then you have to wait enough time that he could bring it from out of the tchum. Let's see what the Mishnah Berurah says here. Mishnah Berurah is cutting you a test. Kedei v'shir kedei sheyasu akol asif kaya mechaber. The mechaber is going back on the entirety of Sif Aleph. Every time he mentioned this time measurement of kedei sheyasu, how long is that? Says the Mishnah Berurah is cutting chav kedei sheyelech, enough time that the non-Jew could go travel and to the place where he picked your fruit or trapped your animal. Now let's say you know that he uses a car, or you know that he uses a horse. So I'm not mechuyev to wait enough time that the guy could have walked to the farm. I know he generally drives, so I have to wait enough time for him to drive. You have to give him enough time to go to the place where he harvested the produce or trapped the animal. If you know where he got it from, whether it's far or whether it's close, then if you know where he got it, then you have to give enough time for that. If you don't know, then the shear is then you have to give enough time for him to go out of the tchum and go get it. Says the Chavetz Chaim, this shear of giving the guy enough time to get it from out of the tchum has in it a chumrah and a kula. What's the case of chumrah? I don't know. Maybe he brought it from a farm that's 2 minutes away within the tchum. Or maybe he brought it from a half hour away from outside of the tchum. Then so then you have to wait a half hour, enough time for him to go out of the tchum and get it. That's the chumrah. Where is the rekula? The chein lekula, the shear. This that the Mechaber says that you have to wait enough time for the guy to go out of the tchum and get it. There's also a kula. What's the kula? Let's say I know for certain that he brought the apples from a farm, from an orchard that's located outside of the tchum of the city. But I don't know if he brought it from right outside the tchum, or maybe he went to Kelder's Farms in Kerhansen. Where's Kerhansen? Outside of Ellenville. Maybe he went 2 hours away from here to go get the apples. I know he went out of the tchum, but I don't know how far out of the tchum. Then ein lahachmer lahamtin. We don't have to be machmir to wait. Ela b'chtei shir michutz l'tchum. Let's say the tchum in the city is 10 minutes away. If I know he came from outside of the tchum, I got to wait 10 minutes, plus the amount of time it takes it to pick the fruit and come back. But I have to give him 20 minutes of traveling time, 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back. Maybe he went way out of the tchum. I don't know where he went. I'm not mechuyev to be machmir that he went way out of the tchum. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Mir Hashem, we'll pick up tomorrow with Sif Beis. Thank you so much for joining me for Limud HaTorah. Schus of Limud HaTorah should be Megan on Gans Klal Yisrael. Everybody should take care. Everybody should listen to the guidelines that are being given. They should listen to the things that the doctors are saying. Wear a mask. And I would venture to say personally, is my own personal feeling, that right now, if you're out on the street in an area where there are non-Jews, wear a mask in the street, even though there's no reason to wear a mask in the street. Let them see that Orthodox Jews are wearing masks. Let's not have it that, oh, they go to Orthodox Jews, no masks. No, wear the mask. It's an inconvenience. It's not comfortable. Wear the stupid mask. I wear it all over the place. I wear it inside. I wear it outside. I wear it all over the place. My cousin, who's a Goyen and a Paisik, Rabbi Weiss, if you look at Shiva World News, you can see his letter that he wrote. It's a sharfa letter. He says, and I say, I can't understand for the life of me. For the life of me, I can't understand it. These people who have taken on like a religion not to wear a mask. And take a look what's happening to us in the press, and take a look at the anti-Semitism that it's causing, and take a look at the real sakana. Take a look at the real sakana. Take a look at how it's spreading. So for heaven's sakes, just wear a mask. Okay, so now that I did my rant for the day, the schus of Torah should be made against Klal Yisrael. Even though I say wear the mask, remember to nu oiz le'elikim. You have to give the strength to the Ribbono Shel Olam. It's the Ribbono Shel Olam that protects you. It's the Ribbono Shel Olam who's Memes and Machaya. It's the Ribbono Shel Olam who's Marpo Machli. It's not the mask, and it's not the medicine, and it's not the Ishtadlus. It's the Ribbono Shel Olam. So yes, wear the mask, but remember to nu oiz le'elikim. Remember that your health is in the Ribbono Shel Olam's hands. And like my cousin writes in his letter, the ikar is to be machzik in limud Torah. And very interesting what he writes over there also. He says it's also an Indian to be machzik in the simcha of the mitzvah, in the simcha of Torah learning. We just at Simchas HaTorah, we should be misameach with the Torah. We should sit down in front of the Sefer with a smile on our face. I'm not sure where he's pulling that from. I didn't see, but it's a beautiful gedank that not only we should be machzik in limud Torah, we should be machzik in Simchas HaTorah and Simchas HaMitzvahs. Be well.